What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Danish inventions. Apparently, there are a lot of things that we use every day here in the United States that are actually from Denmark, which I had no idea about that. So today, I really want to check out this video here and learn more about this. So let's take a look.
So let's start off with the biggest one, the one that you most likely use every day at least once a week, and that is Google Maps. Now, Google
What?
Maps, of course, started in Australia.
What? What? What do you mean? What do you mean, Google Maps? Google didn't Google create Google Maps? What did how did Denmark? What?
That is Google Maps. Now, Google Maps, of course, started in Australia with an Australian company.
What? Huh? None none of this makes any sense to me, but actually that's why it's so interesting, I guess. Um it started in Australia? Then where? What does Denmark have to do with this?
This was known as Where to Technologies, and it began around 2003. Now, originally they started off by
Oh.
digitally mapping locations, but when they figured out how to put this into a browser or an app known as Expedition, that's when Google was like, we kind of want this. We
Oh, okay. So I understand, like, with a lot of like technology and like Google Maps, that it probably was a lot of different like companies, like, or acquisitions and software and stuff that they purchased or collaborated on to create what we know as Google Maps. So I guess Denmark or like Danish scientists, a Danish company was like a big part of this, I guess.
want this so bad. This was great. This was during the time when Google actually did something to help your fellow man, and it wasn't just for a buck. Sorry, Google. And it was only shortly after, in 2005, that the company had bought the program, which now is known as Google Maps. But what
Okay.
people don't really know is that the two major inventors behind this were two Danish brothers. And these were Jens and Lars Ilstrup Rasmussen. And as a matter of fact, now
What? It was two Danish brothers who founded this first company in Australia that created this map GPS app that was then purchased by Google to create what we know as Google Maps. Is that about right? Who would Yeah, I've definitely never heard that before. I had no idea Denmark or Danish people had anything to do with Google Maps. Google Maps is like legitimately amazing. Like I kind of forget how amazing it is to have that. I use it every day. Like an embarrassing amount. So I couldn't survive without it. So thank you, Denmark, I guess. That's weird. I didn't know that.
and as a matter of fact, not only being Danish, it was also Jen's idea to put a pin into Google Maps instead of using a star or anything ridiculous like that.
Huh.
And the reason was because pretty much stars are too distracting on the screen, and a pin is just a little bit nicer and a little more
Wow.
accurate. Moving right along, let's talk about one of the most important inventors from Denmark. Now, he's old, he is from way back in the day, and he is pretty much one of the biggest father figures of inventions from Denmark in the 20th century.
Okay.
This guy is known as Vladimir Poulsen, and he was pretty much a radio technology guy.
See, like, I don't know. This just kind of shows how here in the United States, we're not taught about Danish history or Danish inventors or any of this stuff, really. Like, not in school or So I've never heard of this guy.
Not only did he invent his own version of the arc converter, or a Poulsen arc, in
My God.
1903, basically this was an early form of radio transmission that was used by many different stations in the early 1900s. And of course,
Okay.
there were many others of this type around the world. As a matter of fact, the Poulsen one found home specifically in the United States Navy. The reason due to this is because the Poulsen arc was the only one that could be used in a mobile setting. And
So, wow, the United States used this Danish invention like to big effect, and I didn't even know that. I bet there's a lot of stuff that the United States relies on that's from like Denmark or other countries that we don't even talk about or know about. That's what I'm starting to think. So this is a radio? He's talking about some kind of arc reactor. Sounds like Iron Man, Marvel superhero. What is this thing?
as a matter of fact, his technology was used in the early 1900s for about an entire decade, until his whole invention was replaced by those vacuum tube things that they used to use. So Vladimir himself, he was born in Copenhagen, Denmark in 1869, but he also went on to invent something else that we actually still use today. You know those little magnetic strip cards that you have on the back of your credit card, or
Yeah.
you use to open doors in hotels? Well,
Yeah.
he invented the thing called magnetic storage. Sure, you may
What? I mean, this is cool. I'll say it again. This is like some of the most random stuff that Denmark has invented. Like, helped found the basis of Google Maps, and then the credit card magnetic storage strip. It's funny because these are really, really important things that we use every day that you just don't really think about. You kind of take for granted.
not use those magnetic strips on your credit card anymore, and you might not use the magnetic cards for hotels. That's kind of an older technology, but it's still used somewhat today. And of course, they were used in floppy disks. Let's be perfectly honest, if we didn't have that technology, we wouldn't have floppy disks. And I know they don't hold a lot of information. Back in the day when computers were really, really young, 70s, 80s, all that stuff, floppy disks were really important.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is important. Yeah, like, yeah, of course, we don't use floppy disks, but we wouldn't have gotten to where we are now with technology unless we had floppy disks when we needed floppy disks. And we've been using the magnetic credit card thing like my whole life until they've recently, it's more of like a tap thing now. But the strip on the card, yes, I've been using that my whole life. So certainly never thought that like a Danish person had anything to do with that. So this is really cool.
But if you like loud music, you might be surprised to know that the Danish created the loudspeaker first. The father inventor of this was Peter Jensen, who was born in Falster, Denmark on
What? This is insane. Like, this is really important. It's not like, it's funny because it's like, we could survive without the loudspeaker. It's not like we need it to live, but talk about something that all of us use every day, like a speaker? How do you even invent a speaker? Like, you have to be a genius. Like, these are, yeah. So, not critical for like staying alive, but really, really, really important stuff that everybody uses every day. Wow.
May 16th, 1886. As a matter of fact, in 1905, he was an apprentice for Vladimir Poulsen as well, so there you go. But as for Peter, it was his loudspeaker that was known as the Magnavox that was developed in 1915. And if you don't
Wow.
think this is important, well, you're wrong, because not only the fact did militaries use this way back in the day, but on top of that, Fender used it as one of their first amplifiers for their guitars, because they were saying, yo, it's the best quality out of all the speakers around the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was used in the military, and it's like when you invent something like this, it sets the foundation for the future. Like, I'm based off his amplifier or his speaker, I'm sure like that's what paved the way for all the next generation speakers to be better and better.
Now, for all you heavy drinkers out there, you may want to thank the Danish. I know the Germans are all big for inventing beer, but also You know, it couldn't have gotten better without the Carlsberg yeast, and that came from Denmark. Now, the Carlsberg yeast,
Huh?
or the S. Carlsberg Genesis, was discovered by Emil Christian Hansen in 1883.
I'm sorry, what is this? A Danish guy, this guy from Denmark, discovered a yeast, which yeast is used in making beer. Is this like a popular yeast? Is this like really important for like modern beer or what?
Now, I'm not really sure how the whole science of this works, but apparently after this, it prevented people from getting beer sickness. Now, I'm not talking getting sick from drinking alcohol. I'm
Okay.
talking you have a beer and then you get sick in other shapes. It's not a hangover sick. And apparently, this was
Okay.
discovered by isolating a certain type of cell that's a yeast cell. Again, I don't really know the science of it. I don't really drink that much beer anymore.
What? I love that this Danish scientist dedicated himself to like making beer better. What a priority.
Okay, let's move along. Let's talk about guns. Chick, chick, boom. That's literally, I don't think guns do that. They don't
Guns.
go chick, chick, boom. They go like.
Guns in the United States, like, we're big on guns. We like to think we do everything with guns. So what has Denmark done with guns? Denmark didn't invent the gun. I don't know who invented the first firearm, honestly. I think gunpowder was invented in like China. I don't know. Could have been Denmark.
Either way, believe it or not, the Danish were the people who created the light machine gun. I didn't know that. I always thought the
Oh
Americans would
my
have done it
god.
first, maybe the British, but nope.
Oh my god. The light machine gun? Like a mobile machine gun. That's a Danish thing? Because I would have sworn, like, if you told me that was an American thing, I would have been like, oh, yeah. Yeah, we machine gun, yeah, to kill our enemies, and we spend so much money on military. I would have totally believed that. Denmark invented the light machine gun.
It was the Danish. And last but not least, guys, considering we're on the topic of kids, let's talk about Lego. I love Lego. I still got boxes
Okay?
of this stuff in my mom's basement. It's crazy. Lego first started off as the Lego Group, which was a carpentry workshop and was run by Ole Kirk Christensen.
Hold on. We're talking about Legos. Are you telling me Lego is a Danish product? Lego is from Denmark? Lego? Lego. That is like one of the biggest parts of my childhood. So many American children grow up playing with Legos. We love Lego. Everybody knows Lego. Lego is from Denmark. Is it from Denmark?
Now, this was located in Billund, Denmark, and Christensen had been doing carpentry since about 1895. Now, he finally opened a shop in 1916, and he started flourishing doing carpentry work. Unfortunately, by 1924, his first shop burned down, and as a matter of fact, it burned down
Dang.
again even later. And although they did build a new shop by 1932, unfortunately, because of the economic crisis,
Oh my god. Lego almost didn't happen. Numerous times it almost failed because his shop burned down. I can't believe I've never thought about where Lego comes from. Honestly, I think America likes to take credit for it because I think I assumed it was like an American company. Seriously. So that's bad. Like, it's funny, like, that is so popular. That's such a fundamental part of American culture, yet none of us realize where it's from. That's from Denmark. It's kind of sad. Like, Denmark deserves more recognition for this.
he was really having a hard time finding carpentry work. So therefore, he took his company and they decided to make toys. Of course, after this is when, that second fire happened. But in about 1942, plastic
Hey.
became readily available for consumers to use. And from there
Okay.
on, he started making little blocks, which was inspired from a previous patent. And by 1945, his little blocks were called
No.
automatic binding bricks, which eventually by 1951 was renamed to Lego.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I had no idea about that. Thank God for Denmark. Thank God. Because, yeah, I've always loved Lego. So many Americans, like, have such fond memories of Lego. Not just Lego. All this stuff is, like, amazing. Like, Google Maps and... There's so many random things that come from Denmark that I never knew. Um, I do feel like we need to do a better job of, like, teaching or educating ourselves on where this stuff comes from, because it's important. Not everything that's cool is American. Like, all this cool stuff is Danish. Yeah, so I respect. I have a newfound appreciation for Denmark for sure. Oh my God. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you're Danish and you're familiar with any of these inventions or you know about this. That'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.